Grapevine with JPR Brokerage and the Anchor Home Team here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Super excited today to be with you and a very good friend and professional mortgage lender here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, my friend Kevin Schramm with Gateway Mortgage. Kevin, thanks for being with us today.
Absolutely, my pleasure. So glad we could do this.
Yeah, I'm excited about our conversation today and some helpful things that we're going to get to share with related to a lot of the questions I think that both you and I are getting a lot these days.
Absolutely.
Well, you know, you and I and everybody, I mean, it doesn't matter if I'm talking to the landscaping team that I use a lot, whether it's at the restaurant, my clients, business professionals that I'm working with, everybody is talking about, wow, what do you think is what's going on with the real estate market right now? My house values, like, you know, what do you think is going to happen? Like, is everything bottoming out? What should I do? Right. Everybody's just been in a lot of like concern and a lot of freak out to be.
Absolutely. And rightly so, right? There's a lot of just volatility in the market, a lot of uncertainty out there. And so that just creates an atmosphere for just a fearful atmosphere of not knowing what's happening, what to expect, how to best position yourself or your family for the future. Lots of big question marks. And especially when there's just not a whole lot of answers that anybody can really trust coming from the people who are supposed to have the answers. And so what do you do, right? And so we're all in this boat together, all in this market trying to navigate this together. And it does have its own unique challenges, but hopefully today we can provide some little bit of stability to this and provide some answers that may bring a little more assurance as you're thinking about the real estate market and when to get back in and so forth.
Yeah, because that's what we're here for. We're here to find the good news in the midst of all the chaos. That's what we're about, because there's always good news in the midst of all the chaos. And, and really what we've seen happen is, you know, pretty crazy, because in the last 6 months, we have seen interest rates increase at such a rate that has exceeded anything we've seen in the last 20 years.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
That's statistics. We've not seen this increase in rates at this rapid rate in 20 years. So it's happened so fast that it's everyone's heads are spinning, including, you know, even though a lot of this was forecasted by various folks last year, the ones that would actually tell the truth.
Yep.
We knew some of this was coming, but there were a lot of people who were not admitting it. Okay. So some of them were out there saying that this was coming. We were just kind of watching to see like at what point and how drastic it was going to become. So now what we're seeing as it's actually playing out in the real world in front of us, what we saw was frenzied overbidding on houses in the last couple of years. I mean, Kevin, I had a client bid $100,000 over on a property here in the Metroplex, and they lost the bid. Yeah. So there was no, it was just absolutely frenzied, very much throwing so many buyers out of the competition. And a lot of people became super discouraged, super hopeless. Like, I'm just going to sit out on the bench. I don't know when I'll ever be able to buy. So, you know, there are some positive things that are coming out of a more normal market, because what we do know, right, is that rates are actually normalizing. While housing prices are higher than they were, you know, considered to other years, rates are normalizing. So talk to us a little bit about that.
Right. So, and very likely you've already seen many, well, it depends on how much attention you're paying to these things, but there's been so much in the news and different places on social media that just talk about the average interest rates over a period of time, over the nation's history. And, where we're at, even as today, I hopped on the internet this morning just to check the average rates. So average rates right now for an FHA loan are at 5.95%. This is nationwide. It's almost 6%. That's about the same for VA. So most of the government loans are in the 6% range. Conventionals a little bit higher. They're closer to 6.5%. Okay. And that's just national averages, which overall is not horrible. We were up in the 7s. So we've come down the last 3 or 4 weeks. We've seen a slight decrease in the rates coming back down some. But again, historically, I mean, rates have averaged in the 7s and 8s. And so, we're still technically lower than average. So it may not feel like it, especially in the pocketbook, but, it's kind of getting used to the new normal here. Just because the interest rates may on paper seem a little bit lower than they were a month ago, it doesn't mean it feels any better if you're trying to figure out the monthly payment. So we totally get that.
Yeah. Well, I love to tell this story. When my husband and I bought our first house, you want to guess what our first house interest rate was?
You guys bought back in the mid 80s, is that right? Yeah, so probably 16, 17%. Am I guessing?
That's what they were running when we got our first house on a bond program at 13 7/8.
There you go. That's a specialty program. She's getting 13%, folks. That's wow, what a deal.
Yeah. And I remember buying our first house. I thought I didn't have a clue how we were ever gonna, make a payment. So I still empathize enormously, even with first-time home buyers. Like it's such a scary leap. Sure. But again, perspective we got so spoiled by those, 2% interest rates, 3.75, those wonderful rates that we saw there for a while.
Right.
But they're not considered a normal interest rate, right?
They were, definitely that. And that was part of the problems we're kind of reeling from. That is, those rates probably should have never even been published. They were way below what really was needed for the marketplace at that time. There's a lot of just political pressures and so forth that drove them that low. But anyway, it is what it is. So we had a period of time where we had rates just down in these 3s and 2s, and people were just thinking, oh, this is great, this is life now. And it was so abnormal that we're getting back to what is normal, and people are having a hard time adjusting with it. And so, but that's to be expected as we do that. Anytime something shifts or seems to be getting a little bit harder, we have a hard time getting a hold of it and adjusting our life to it, because we do have to make sacrifices a lot of times when things get more expensive. And, it's, what do I cut and how do I make this work? And then we're all going through the same thing together.
In general, what do lenders typically recommend should be the percentage rate of a budget to go towards a mortgage payment?
Yeah, well, again, it's a little bit loaded question. Ideally, we want to keep it under 30%. As far as the actual mortgage portion of your budget, there are some exceptions to that, and we can definitely work with different situations. But again, it's a comfort level, though. Just because we put a number on paper that says, hey, you qualify for this, if it doesn't feel good to your budget, it's not something you can afford, then, just because it could happen on paper doesn't mean it's going to work for you. So we need to take the time to get to know your situation specifically, what you're comfortable with as far as a housing and payment, and try to kind of reverse engineer how much of a house you can afford from that.
Mm-hmm. Well, as we're looking at the shifts in the mortgage rates, the government has yet to say that we're officially in recession, although it's already been said by people that are truly stating the reality of that we have been in a recession. you know, that when that's really said, we're probably going to start to see a downward shift in those rates, don't you think?
Absolutely. Yeah. Historically, if you look at the last 6 recessions we've had in the nation, you know, during the period as the recession kind of wraps up the period of recession, there's always a drop in interest rates. And so we, you know, once the federal government officially will declare that we have entered into a recession, there may be kind of even a spike initially, because a lot of again, it's the instability that causes things to kind of go up, but then just as quickly that's going to start to drop, and we will see the rates drop. Most projections that we're hearing and seeing, that most rates will be probably down in the 5% range, lower 5s by the end of the year, if not earlier. So, or 2023, into 2023. My apologies. So, you know, again, we'll kind of watch that. Nobody knows for sure. There could be 1,000 things that happen that could influence that, but all projections are saying that it'll probably come down a little bit, which is, you know, it's just great news. But at the same time, if you need to buy a house now, you need to buy a house, and it's still there's never a bad time to buy a house. Yep. I mean, there's still the best investment on the market. You know, and you could probably speak to this a little bit better as far as what the average increase in value, as far as the percentage increase in value does an investment side of things, is over time.
Yeah. And and that's one of the things I tell people all the time when they're asking, gosh, I'm having that conversation with several clients right now about selling their house, like they want to wait, and about buying their house. And I'm like, start putting your money in an investment right now.
Yeah.
Right now, with your rates. Number one, let's talk about the market right now. There's not a lot of buyers out there. So the inventory that's on the market is very competitive. You are going to get housing prices during Christmas and the holidays. There's not a lot of buyers. It's a great time right now to be shopping for a house. Housing
absolutely
are dropping. I'm out there looking at them with clients right now, and gosh, we're seeing some fantastic houses on the market right now that are there's longer days on the market, because again, buyers are staying shy. They're holding off, trying to see what's going on, and quite frankly, a lot are looking at their cash reserve, saying, I need to, you know, save up some more money, and we'll talk a little bit more in a few minutes about some different options that you can use to prepare for that. But yeah, so for the buyers that are out there right now, I'm saying it's a great time to shop right now.
Absolutely. Now, but one of the things you're probably seeing as well is the sellers willing to give concessions or give money for closing, which again is something that it puts the buyer in a great position. And we'll talk about some other programs here, but one of the programs that you may have been hearing about lately in the news is the 2-1 buy down. And this is fantastic when you have sellers giving up, you know, $8,000, $10,000 on a purchase. You can take that money and use it to buy down the interest rate on these loan programs. It can go down as much as 2% over the market average. So, like, you know, if we're talking the conventional loans are at 6.5 right now, with the seller paying these concessions to a 2-1 buy down loan product, you could start off for the first year being at a 4.5 interest rate. Well, that's back to basically what we were at before this whole debacle started. So, I mean, it's not a horrible time to buy. You know, again, we just have to look for the right products and the right situations. But, you know, we can definitely make this happen for you.
I'm going to make your brain do some math right now. So let's say we had a $400,000 loan. Okay. And we were at a I'll give you a few minutes to work on this while I talk, but let's say we had a $100,000 loan and we were looking at that 6.5%. And then we were doing that 2-for-1 buy down. And we could get that down to that 4.5%. What would be the difference in their monthly payment with that benefit? Okay. Great
question. Yeah.
So crunch on that. While you do that, I'm going to share a little bit of information on that to our listeners today. So again, there is a tight inventory. And what that means is there are just less houses. More people are staying in their houses. They're not putting them on the market. kind of like watching and waiting to see what's happened. But we've been in that for a few years now. So that's not an unusual situation. Buyers are starting to see less competition for homes, which is a good thing for you buyers. Sellers, now, if you will price your home right, pricing your home right is more important now than ever. Okay, because we're not seeing as many, we're not seeing much competitive bidding on houses. You might see it once in a maybe 20 houses if your house is the most really fantastically updated house. In a really top-notch neighborhood area, you might see it, but it's a competitive market right now. Sellers are having to give more. We're seeing more home inspections. We're seeing a little bit longer inspection periods. Buyers are being more picky on inspections, and they're expecting more negotiations. And we just have to bend. The market is shifting and changing. And so I'm working with a lot of sellers right now as they're getting they're doing make ready on their house to get it on the market. So they're having to do more work to get their house on the market and get it more appealing in preparation for those pickier buyers. So it's a shift, but on the other hand, in every market, no matter what the situation, there are always wins in it for everyone. In the previous market, if you were a seller selling your house, you'd make more money, but you had to pay more. So a lot of people weren't moving because it's like, oh my gosh, I can't afford to buy anywhere else. So, you know, it just depends on your scenario. So yeah, Kevin, tell me what number you came up with.
Okay, we crunched the numbers. So back to the problem, just so we can recap. So we started off with a $400,000 loan amount, and we just checked the difference between a 6.5 rate and a 4.5 rate, the amount that you would save on this 2-1 buy down per month. And it's right at $500 a month in your payment. So that's a pretty significant chunk of change there over a course of a year. That's $6,000 extra in your pocket from this program. So, you know, that's a great program to take advantage of that's out there. The way that program works is it gives you a 2% lower rate for the first year, a 1% lower rate for the second year. Then on the third year, it bounces back up to the original lock-in rate. But the assumption is that rates, as we talked about, will be going down. And so there's a lot of home buyers taking advantage of this with the expectation of being able to refinance here in a year or two and go ahead and lock it in at the lower rate when the rates come back down. So this just allows you to have that cushion so you can have the lower monthly payment, get into the house that you want. And then when the rates come down, just go ahead and do a permanent refinance onto the lower rates. And so it's just a great strategy that a lot of people are taking advantage of.
Yeah, I'm seeing it a lot as an incentive for buyers on houses right now. So Kevin, tell me about a couple of other loan products that you're seeing right now that are being made available, maybe with some different options for buyers to consider.
Sure. One of the other programs that's real popular right now are the down payment assistance programs. And these are not just for first-time home buyers. These are for anyone. And just because cash is tight right now, people are trying to hold on to their money, which is understandable. Things are more expensive. So there are several down payment assistance programs here in the state of Texas that offer, you know, just large portions of money to help cover your closing costs and your out-of-pocket expenses. And the way these typically work is they are a trade-off program. They essentially give you a little bit higher interest rate than you would normally get without them. But in exchange for that higher rate, you're going to get a large portion of money to go towards your closing costs, which helps you reserve your funds. And so that's how that works. You know, obviously with a little bit higher interest rate, that may mean that you can afford a little bit smaller house or as far as the purchase price amount, because that will affect your debt ratio. But again, depending on your situation, that still may be the best way to go, because if we can help reserve, because some of these programs, if you're maxing out the down payment assistance, you can literally get, you know, tens of thousands of dollars in down payment assistance that can really help take a hunk out of what you're having to bring to closing. So on average, just so you know, for most, just a standard FHA buyer with these down payment assistance program, your out-of-pocket expenses probably in the $4,000 to $5,000 range if you max out the down payment assistance. So you can literally get into a home for that amount. And then if you have seller concessions on top of that, you literally can get into this house for just about nothing. And so that's not unfeasible. Yeah. It's even better for veterans that are looking in using these down payment assistance programs. very, very common for us to use these and get the veteran money back at closing. And that's just a wonderful thing to be able to do. So great programs out there to be able to get you into a house. It's still, like I said, it's a great time to buy. One of the other factors I wanted to talk about that people don't think about some when you're considering the cost of things overall and the expense, that just the overall household budget, is that payroll, your actual pay is going up every year as well. And people kind of forget to take this into account. But ADP, the National Payroll Organization, just on average says that most people's pay is going up about 9% a year. So, yes, we're having increases in expenses. Things are more expensive, but you're also getting paid more. So, there may be a little temporary hurt at first, but if your pay is continuing to go up every year, it's going to offset. And so that's another thing just to kind of keep in the back of your mind, as you're getting into these and making these home buying decisions, the things are going to be improving for your personal budget as well as we go along. But you just want to consult some professionals as you're thinking about these. You want to get some wisdom, have some people really walk through the numbers with you, look at your personal situation, and give you all the ins and outs, the pluses and minuses, so you can make a good decision for yourself and your family.
Yeah, and that's why we're doing this conversation, having this, because really this is an educational process, right? A lot of our conversations with people is all about offering the resources, the information that's out there, helping to educate you so that you can say, hey, this feels like it could be the best option for me. And, this and feeling like there's no pressure. This is, crunching the numbers to see how do we process through that to see what the best solution. As a real estate consultant here, another solution that I like to share with people, and again, this doesn't involve working with a lender like Kevin, but a lot of the new home builders right now, they're offering some very, very strong incentives right now to help folks get into. They've got a lot of inventory that is, they're trying to clear it out before the end of the year. That could be a solution that is a good fit for you. Again, we're here to help you, however we can. So again, a few things to think about in conversations. We're here to serve you along the way. So I want to take a break just for a moment and have a fun question. So Kevin, I got a trivia question for you. So across the U.S. and Texas, what do you think is the most affordable metro area in Texas to own a home?
Most affordable metro area. Wow. Well, I know it's not Austin, so I'll rule them out. Oh my goodness. I'm going to go with Dallas Fort Worth.
Well, believe it or not, it is McAllen, Texas.
McAllen, really, down the valley. How about that? Rio Grande Valley.
Yeah, they came out with the projections of the 10 most expensive cities across the U.S. And the 10 most affordable metro areas across the U.S. And actually, McAllen, Texas came in number 8 across the U.S. The only Texas metro city to actually make.
Interesting. How about that? Well, we learned something there to new today. I love it.
Today. Kind of a fun little piece. Texas hit the map there.
You bet.
We definitely hit one of the most expensive in the top 10, 10 cities. We talked a little bit about, what are some of the challenges for buyers and sellers right now. I'm going to recap that real quickly. Buyers right now, some of your most important challenges going into 2023. Again, there's going to be low inventory. Okay. We don't see the same kind of competitive bidding going into next year that we've seen in the past. We are seeing prices stay fairly stable in the area. We don't see everybody was asking, oh my gosh, are we in the housing bubble like what we had in 2008, 2009? No. We're nowhere near that. We're not seeing unemployment. We're not seeing over lending, bad lending policies. There's no comparison to those markets. So we're seeing mortgage rates starts to level off a little bit next year, which will be more favorable for buyers. We are seeing in some situations where more down payments may be required, a little more substantial down payments. But then again, that's why I love some of the programs that you're suggesting, Kevin. There are some really great products that are coming out to help meet some of those needs. So, and then for your sellers, for going into 2023, a tight inventory means that in other words, it's still a seller's market, okay? Because there's just not as many houses on the market. However, sellers may have to drop their houses prices a little bit more. You're going to have to really, for all the agents out there, for us selling, we've really got to work with the sellers to say, we've got to price your house right. If we don't get it on target, it's going to stay on the market longer and longer. And if you don't keep dropping the price, it won't sell. So we're seeing a lot of houses terminate their listings, get canceled, because you've got sellers that can't mentally adjust that the market has shifted.
Right.
It's a mindset that we have to shift. It is what it is.
Right.
But if sellers will be willing to make concessions and price their house right, it will sell. Okay.
Absolutely.
We want to get you into the house that fits the lifestyle that your family needs for a new season. We're all about being in the right place at the right time. So again, we're seeing that while we've experienced anywhere from 18 to 21% appreciation in the Metroplex, we're looking at a much different appreciation number going into that. We're looking anywhere probably around a 5% appreciation for next year. That is a projected based on everything that we're seeing right now. That's still very positive. There are some parts of the US where it's going to be more like 1%, and some areas where it'll be a little less than that. So again, Dallas and Texas, we're very lucky and very fortunate. We're
absolutely
still having a very, very strong economy.
I love you brought up that the percentage of the appreciation from the past couple of years that was in the 18% range for the last couple of years here, because the housing values have grown so much. You know, if we're having to make a little bit of concession now, we're still a whole lot better than we were 2 years ago. I mean, if you're having to come back, you know, drop your price down 10 or 15,000 over what you could have gotten earlier this year, you're still very much, you know, doing very well for yourself. You're still in the positive. So again, it's perspective, and, you know, just keeping the big picture in mind, it's still a great time to be in the market. Yeah.
Love that, Kevin. So bottom line, home ownership is one of the best investments you can ever have, right?
Absolutely.
So the value, you know, of owning a home, you know, a fixed rate mortgage offers stability for month to month payments. Your home will almost always in Texas appreciate faster in value than inflation. Your net worth increases as your equity builds. You may be able to deduct the interest you pay on your mortgage, your insurance premiums, your property taxes. Obviously, consult your tax advisor. It gives you the opportunity to lay down roots, create community. Gosh, we're living in a culture where people are craving community, and you know, COVID just forced us into isolation, and we see the pain points of that in our communities. And I'm passionate about loving your neighbors and getting out there, and I believe in community, and I know you do too, Kevin. I love that about your lifestyle. But you know, this is a time to get to know people and build some root structures for your communities, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Again, just to reiterate, everything Kim is saying is so right on. Don't let the concerns you're hearing in the news and just there's so many Debbie Downers out there with everything that's going on. You really have to keep your head up right, and just, you know, if you need to get some good advice, call Kim, call myself. Let's talk about some actual figures and walk you through your situation one-on-one, because, you know, nobody's going to know your situation like you. And just because somebody, you know, on the other side of the continent is having a tough time with their housing payment doesn't mean that you're necessarily going to. So let's talk about where you're at and what we can do to help you and your family get to where you need to be.
Hey, Kevin, how can people reach out to you?
Well, there's a couple of different ways. You can call me on my cell phone. If you want to reach out there, that's where you can always get me. It's 817-475-3490. Or you can go online. I've got a website where if you just want to reach me out there, my website is theunfairadvantageteam.com, unfairadvantageteam.com. You can reach out there. That's my personal website. Love to connect to you either way. It'd be great.
I love that.
Yeah.
And again, I'm Kim Vastine with the Anchor Home Team at www.anchorhometeam.com. My phone number is 817-312-1129. And as we close out for today, I want to speak a blessing over everybody that's listening. And this is what I want to say. The Lord bless you today. The Lord keep you. The Lord God make his face shine upon you today. And may he give you his peace that passes all your understanding. He loves you. He loves you. He loves you. We care about you. We want to know you, and we are here for you however we can help you in any way. God bless you today, and look forward to staying in touch with you and hopefully having other conversations with you down the road.